In a mission so secretive and swift that the world didn't see it coming, the United States has carried out one of the most complex airstrikes in modern history. With stealth bombers, mid-air refueling, decoys, and bunker busters, Operation Midnight Hammer was launched to cripple Iran's underground nuclear sites, without a single shot fired in retaliation. But how exactly did it happen? What did the US really hit? And what does it all mean? This is the story, according to the Pentagon, of how America struck Iran's nuclear core in total silence. Just past midnight on a quiet Saturday night in Washington, a high-level meeting was underway in the Situation Room. President Donald Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth joined elite military officials, including four-star General Dan Kane, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The stakes were high. Iran's nuclear facilities, especially the heavily fortified Fordow complex, had become a red line for Washington. These weren't just symbolic targets. The Fordow site, buried beneath nearly 90 meters of rock and mountain, is the epicenter of Iran's nuclear enrichment program. Taking it out required America's most secretive and sophisticated weapons. At midnight EDT, under the cover of complete darkness, 7 B-2 Spirit stealth bombers silently lifted off from Whiteman Air Force Base in rural Missouri. Each subsonic aircraft, invisible to radar, carried 2 GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators, or bunker buster bombs, specially designed to pierce through 18 meters of reinforced concrete. These MOPs are the only bombs in the world that could even attempt to damage something as deep as Fordow. No other military has them, as per Dr. Stacy Pettyjohn of the Center for a New American Security. As the B-2s glided silently eastward over the Atlantic, most of the world's attention was turned towards west, toward the Pacific. That was by design. At that same moment, a parallel flight pattern emerged. Bombers were seen heading toward Guam, the U.S. island territory in the Pacific, reports quickly swirled online. But according to the Pentagon briefing, this was a ruse, a deception crafted by a handful of planners and key leaders to distract attention from the real strike force heading in the opposite direction. The planes that went west were part of a deception effort known only to an extremely small number of planners and key leaders, said General Kane during Sunday's briefing. Meanwhile, the main strike group was hurtling toward Iran, quietly, invisibly, and undetected. The journey to Iran was not a simple flight. It spanned nearly 18 hours each way, requiring multiple mid-air refuelings coordinated across multiple continents. The logistics behind this are staggering. You're coordinating stealth bombers, fuel tankers, satellite communication, all while staying off radar. It's like threading a needle in total darkness. By 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the B-2s approached the Middle East. That's when more support arrived. EA-18 Growlers and other aircraft swept ahead, looking for any signs of Iranian air defense. Yet, surprisingly, no Iranian jets took off. No missiles were launched. No resistance was encountered. Then, at 1840 Eastern Daylight Time, just past 2 a.m. local time in Iran, it began. The lead B-2 dropped 2 massive ordnance penetrators onto the Fordow site, aiming for Iran's deepest and most secure nuclear facilities. These bombs don't explode on impact, they burrow deep underground and then detonate. It's shock, then fire. No warning. Within minutes, 14 MOPs were released by the remaining bombers. Simultaneously, over 200 kilometers away, more than 24 Tomahawk cruise missiles, launched from a U.S. submarine in the Arabian Sea, rained down on the nuclear facility in Isfahan. 3 targets, 1 synchronized assault. The Pentagon called it a coordinated surprise attack that hit its objectives within a narrow 25-minute window. At 19:30 Eastern Daylight Time, the B-2s exited Iranian airspace, completing their combat phase. But they still had another 18 hours to fly before landing safely back in Missouri. They went in and out and back, without the world knowing at all, General Kane stated confidently. In total, the U.S. deployed over 125 aircraft, dropped 75 precision-guided weapons, and fired 24 Tomahawk missiles, and yet, there was barely a whisper in global radar tracking. So what did the operation really achieve? The Trump administration declared total victory. claiming Iran's nuclear program had been obliterated. Secretary Pete Hegseth called it a clear and powerful demonstration of American resolve. But Iran painted a different picture, acknowledging the strikes, but downplaying the damage. No official casualty count, no confirmation on whether the Fordow or Natanz facilities were permanently disabled. We won't know the full extent until we get satellite imagery and ground reports confirming the depth of the impact, says Dr. Pettyjohn. And while bunker busters can do massive damage, even the MOP may not be able to fully collapse a facility buried 90 meters deep under a mountain. Despite the Pentagon's confident tone, there's one unresolved question. Did Operation Midnight Hammer permanently set back Iran's nuclear ambitions? It was technically flawless, but strategically? That's still unknown, and Iran may now be more determined than ever. The attack was a show of unmatched power, but did it eliminate the threat, or just delay the inevitable? And what about the diplomatic fallout? Will this trigger retaliation? Further escalation? Or finally bring both sides back to the negotiating table? As the smoke clears and intelligence filters in, one thing is certain: Operation Midnight Hammer was one of the most daring, sophisticated, and secretive military strikes in decades. But the real battle, for regional stability, for non-proliferation, and for peace, might just be beginning. Because what was meant to be a silent hammer may echo louder than anyone expected. Like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth geopolitical analysis. Have thoughts on Operation Midnight Hammer? Drop them in the comments below. Turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive. We will see you in the next video.